Good morning, friends. We've got a quick alpha mail day for you today. Continuing our quest for 300 alpha cards. This is a pretty small order today, but as you can see, we've got a stack of cards. Thanks to everyone for watching all the Ice Age videos. We had a lot of fun opening up Ice Age cards. We picked up a few extra rares here too in this order. This card is a near mint copy of Ironroot Treefolk in alpha. This one's got a very tiny Jesper Myrfors signature. He signs the year after his initials when he signed it, so this was signed in '97. So I find some of the vintage signatures a little more scarce and more collectible than like if you were to sign this in 2022 or 2023. I think '97 is pretty cool. So that Ironroot Treefolk is going to go in our Alpha 60 deck. We have the 60 card deck. Mostly commons, some uncommons, maybe two rares, and then we get to the green cards. And we have an Ironroot Treefolk. It's not signed. It's also near mint, probably slightly played. This one is in better condition. Slightly better condition here, this one. So we're gonna swap these out and put the signed Ironroot Treefolk in the Alpha 60 deck. Save that. There we go, just like that. So the unsigned Alpha Ironroot Treefolk is going into our binder, and then the rest of the cards in this order, I think we're mostly Ice Age cards. We picked up some rare Ice Age cards that we did not hit in our booster packs, but we're going to add this to our Ice Age collection, our 800 count storage box, and use these for making decks out of. We have a Chaos Moon for 3 colorless and a red. During each player's upkeep, count the number of permanents. If that number is odd, all red creatures get +1/+1, and mountains produce an additional red mana when tapped for mana until the end of turn. If the number is even, all red creatures get -1/-1, and mountains produce colorless mana instead of their normal mana until the end of turn. So, pretty cool card by Drew Tucker, very similar to Blood Moon, but it also has the die roll mechanic, sort of like a die roll mechanic, but it has to do with the number of permanents in play. So that's Chaos Moon. We also got Deflection that we'll use for making decks out of. We opened up one of these in our starter deck, Ice Age starter deck, but none of the booster packs. We got a Despotic Scepter by Richard Thomas. 1 colorless, you bury target permanent you own. That I think is useful in the Necropotence decks or Demonic Consultation. We have a couple copies of Drought. I think this is a play set. 4 copies of Drought. Love this artwork. This artwork is just epic artwork here. During your upkeep, you pay 2 white or destroy Drought. Before a spell that requires black mana as part of its casting cost may be cast, or an ability that requires black as part of its activation cost may be played. The controller of that spell or ability sacrifices a swamp for each black in the spell's casting cost or the ability's activation cost. So that keeps your opponent off black cards and swamps. We also have Elkin Bottle by Quentin Hoover, some beautiful art. on this one is a card I never knew existed in Ice Age, but here it is. 3 colorless artifact, tap 3 colorless, and this artifact. Take the top card of your library and place it face up in front of you. You may play that card as though it were in your hand. If you do not play it by your next upkeep, remove it from the game. Cool, kind of like puts it on the stack. Energy Storm by Sandra Everingham looks like Thunder Spirit a little bit and kind of Lightning Bolt, but it has a cumulative upkeep of 1. It's a white card. Damage dealt by instants, interrupts, and sorceries is reduced to 0. We just got that one. Flooded Woodlands. No creature can attack unless its controller sacrifices a land whenever that creature attacks. Kaja Foglio, some awesome art there too. Findhorn Elves, we needed one of these to round out our playset of Findhorn Elves. For a green, it's a 1/1 elf, and you tap it to add green mana to your mana pool, sort of like Llanowar Elves. Illusions of Grandeur. This was one of the most expensive cards in the set at one point when it was about $10. Now it's about $12 and no longer the most expensive card in the set, but it's a blue enchantment for 3 colorless and a blue. It has a cumulative upkeep of 2 colorless. When Illusion of Grandeur comes into play, you gain 20 life. When Illusion of Grandeur leaves play, you lose 20 life. And effects that prevent or redirect damage cannot be used to counter the loss of 20 life. So there's some shenanigans that you can play with that card. We also picked up a near mint copy of Musician by Drew Tucker. Cumulative upkeep of 1. You put a music counter on target creature. During that creature's controller upkeep, he or she pays 1 colorless for each music counter on the creature or destroy the creature. Very cool. We have 2 more copies of Mystic Remora. We opened up 2 of these in our booster packs, but now we have a full playset of 4. For 1 blue, it's an enchantment and it has a cumulative upkeep of only 1 colorless. But whenever target opponent successfully casts a non-creature spell, you may draw a card. That player may pay 4 colorless to counter this spell. So common question is, do you pay the 4 colorless? Most people do not, so that lets you draw a card. Pox is a rare card for 3 black. Each player loses a third of his or her life, then chooses and discards a third of the cards in her deck, then sacrifices a third of the creatures she has controls, and finally sacrifices a third of the lands she controls. Round each loss up. Effects that prevent or redirect damage cannot be used to counter this loss of life. So similar to a balance, but in black. We have River Delta by Sandra Everingham. Very similar to a Darkar Wastes and Underground River, but we did not have this. This uses depletion counters instead of doing damage. We also have Timberline Ridge by Jeff Menges. For green or red, it's like a Taiga, but with depletion counters. Velt is another non-basic land. White and green using depletion counters. And then we have some Unfinity attraction cards for our attraction sets. Those go over here. Then rounding out the Ice Age cards in this collection, this order, we got 3 more copies of Deflection to make a play set of those. We also have 3 more Energy Storms to make a play set of Energy Storms. We have Land Cap, which is kind of like these non-basic lands, and then a play set of Lurgoyfs, which is a creature, 2 colorless, 2 green, star, power, and then a 1+ star toughness. Lurgoyf has power equal to the total number of creatures in all graveyards, and toughness equal to 1 plus the total number of creatures in all graveyards. So if you have creature removal graveyard cards, Lurgoyf becomes good, so maybe this would work in a green-black deck. And then finally we have 3 copies of Musician to round out our playset of Musicians. And that, my friends, was the addition to our Ice Age deck making box. We're gonna put those in that box and start making some Ice Age 40 decks out of those. Stay tuned for those decks and to see what we can make out of these cards. Appreciate all the views and comments and follows. Let me know if any of those are your favorite Ice Age cards, or if there's any cards we're missing in Ice Age. We'll try to pick those up too and make a video about those as well. Thanks everyone, have a great day.